Time for your fan weather forecast brought to you by Utke Heating and Cooling. 51 degrees, sunny skies out, no rain in the forecast for tonight, which is a great thing. Low of 34 degrees.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Fifer, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Download the Wendy's app today.
It is time again as we broadcast live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here, Charlie using Chicago Charlie, other side of the glass. Hope everybody is doing well on a football Friday. Badgers and Oregon tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. What time do you think the game will be over by?
6:15.
No, it won't be that quick. I bet you by 7, it'll be pretty much decided.
Yeah, I think so. Usually the Badgers hang around in the first halves of a lot of these games, make you feel a little bit good about them, and then the second half comes around and they're just nowhere to be seen. Missing poster sign.
And that's what we want to talk about here. And if you missed Mike McCarthy earlier on the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Thunder Nellis, we'll play a couple clips from that coming up in the next segment. Charlie Sounds of the Day at 3:40, brought to you by Prize Picks. Green and Gold update, some Jeff Halfley defending of the secondary. We'll play back for you at 4. Joe Bartel, Fantasy Football Friday, every Friday at 4:20. We'll take your fantasy football questions. You can text those in now if you'd like, or get them up into the YouTube or on social medias at WI Sports Radio. We will ask your questions for you. And then at 4:40, it's Follow the Money with our guy, Austin Herdenia, Potawatomi Sportsbook Manager. And we'll get his thoughts on where all the money is going this weekend over there at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. So always look forward to that at 4:40. But the Badgers. This Badgers team, obviously, I don't think there's much hope for when we start talking about winning tomorrow against number 6 Oregon in Oregon. After that, they have a bye week. Then it's at Wisconsin against Washington. Then it's at number 2 Indiana. That could be horrendous. Then it's home against Bielema and number 23 Illinois. Also could be horrendous. Bielema, I'm sure, would love to run it up. Then you finish the year out against that little twerp PJ Fleck in Minnesota on November 29th. That's how this looks right now. Okay? If we're being honest with ourselves, they're not beating Oregon, they're not beating Indiana, they're not beating Illinois. So legitimately, the 2 games you have a chance to win, Washington at Wisconsin, or the last game, Wisconsin at Minnesota. And if we're being honest, I don't think they can win the Minnesota game. So probably you have a realistic chance of beating Washington on November 8th. That's probably your best chance.
I don't think they can beat Washington either. I think I look at that game. I think that's a game where you see a team like the Washington Huskies who've been so much more competitive this season than you've seen the Wisconsin Badgers be. Yeah, their record still says that they're losers too, but not as bad. It's kind of unfortunate. This last couple of the games just really does not strike any confidence into me at all.
As we look at this, their wins so far are against Miami, Ohio, 17-0, and Middle Tennessee, 42-10. And they have lost the other games 38-14, 27-10, 24-10, 37-0, 34-0.
That's rough.
The closest game has been Michigan. That was 14 points.
Yeah.
14. That's 2 touchdowns. That's as close as they've been.
Going 71-0 in the last 2 games is not good, man.
The question is this. As a Badger fan, I just want you to be honest. Wherever the honesty takes you, we'll deal with it. What's the best and what's the worst case scenario for you for this Badgers football program for the rest of the season? Best case in your mind as a fan. Maybe best case is, man, they win 3 games on the way out. They stun one of these ranked teams. They beat Washington. They beat Minnesota. They end up with 5 wins, barely miss a bowl game, and life's not so bad after all. And it gives you some hope going into the offseason that they're on their way to turning this thing around. Maybe that's best case scenario. Maybe worst case scenario is they don't win a game and they end up having to fire Luke Fickell. Maybe that's worst case scenario for you as a Badgers fan. Just kind of curious where everybody's head's at with this. Curious. What would be your best case as a Badger fan and your worst case as a Badger fan? Nicolay Law, talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250, on socials at WI Sports Radio. Of course, watch us on YouTube at WI Sports Radio as well, and watch our shows as we live stream them here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. For me, best case scenario is what I just mentioned. You win 3 of these games on the way out. You beat both unranked teams, Washington. You win at Minnesota, and you figure out a way to beat Illinois and Brett Bielema. I think if you lose to Oregon, okay. You lose to Indiana, fine. You know, number 2 and number 6 teams in the country, fine. But if you win the other 3 and you end up a game short of qualifying for a bowl game, and you win your last 2 on the way out against 2 rivals, significant rivals, in Bielema and Fleck, I think that leaves a good taste in your mouth, maybe going into the offseason. And now you look at next year's schedule in 26, which is nowhere close to as difficult as this year's schedule, and you feel yourself going, okay, 5 wins this year, maybe they can get back to being a bowl team next year and start to turn this thing around going forward. So for me, I would say that's my best case scenario is they win 3 of their next 5 and end up with 5 wins on the year, including beating a ranked team against Bielema and Illinois. That's my best case scenario right now, Charlie.
I think that is a very optimistic best case scenario, Sparky. I'm proud of you for being optimistic.
Thank you.
I'm going to be a lot more negative in my take here on this one.
Shocked.
Yeah, exactly. With the Wisconsin Badgers here, I think when you were talking about best case scenario, you still have to be a little realistic about what that best case scenario can be. In my mind here, I think 2 wins is the best case scenario out of these last 4. I think Washington and Minnesota is your best chance to get a win.
So you got to give them no chance against Bielema and Illinois.
No, I don't. I understand that Illinois is not the same team that people thought they were at the beginning of the season. They're still a very good football team. Like, that's still a team that is much better coached at this point than the Wisconsin Badgers, and that's going to show on that stage, especially when I feel like a lot of these Badgers players, after going up against Oregon here, if you go 3 straight games of being shut out, you're going to be pretty demoralized, and these last 3 games are just not going to matter that much to them. It's just the reality of it. And I think that when you're looking at those 2 wins and that being the best case scenario, you also have to go with the best case scenario being, in a negative light, Luke Fickell gets fired and they find something else. And they just go with somebody younger, cheaper, can spend more money on the roster in the offseason. The best case scenario is that this offseason looks a lot different than what we saw last offseason.
It's Friday. I didn't want to be negative today. I wanted to go into the weekend happy and positive. We got trick-or-treating this weekend in southeastern Wisconsin, so I'm looking forward to that. I would assume across the state there's probably trick-or-treating because for whatever the reason, a lot of communities don't want to do it on Friday night the 31st. Some are doing it then, but others aren't. Where I live, they're not. So ours is Sunday, and we're doing a different community on Saturday as well. But I wanted to be happy going into the weekend. And he brings negativity to me.
Sorry.
You know what? I will find positivity on the Nicolay Law Talking text line,
right.
I bet you. 414-677-1250. 414-677-1250. Tom and Franklin. Best case, they fire Fickle and McIntosh on Sunday.
So much more positive. Yeah.
Why did I decide to go to that for? Jim Leonard comes in and beats Fleck to springboard into next year. Worst case, they lose all the games and retain Fickle and McIntosh. Tom in Franklin. I think that this is a very, very difficult sell if they lose out and Fickle stays. McIntosh, that's separate. The belief has always been from me, and I think a lot of others, that if you're a GM of a team, and in this case, McIntosh isn't the GM, but the athletic director who still makes the call. There is a GM at Wisconsin, by the way, and he is the 24th highest paid GM in college sports as of right now. Now, tell me how that makes sense.
It's better than Michael Lombardi in North Carolina right now from what we're hearing there.
Fine, but he's the highest. He's making $1 million or whatever. This cat's making over $300,000. What's he doing? Because it ain't making the roster better. I know that much. He has not improved the roster. So that Dookie, he can go to the GM of the Badgers because they're overpaying that cat. I didn't think there'd be anybody from Wisconsin on top 25 highest paid GMs in college football, but I was wrong.
Marcus Sedberry,
yes.
Just in case you were wondering.
That's correct. So if they lose out, and when this is done, if they don't get any closer than 2 touchdowns to anybody they play the rest of the way out, which means they're not competitive against Washington and they're not competitive against Minnesota either. Those are the only 2 unranked teams left. If they lose both those games by 14 or more and they get wiped by the 3 ranked teams they have to play, Oregon, Indiana, and Illinois, they can't keep Fickle. There's no way. You haven't been competitive the entire season. It's one thing to lose games by 3 to 7 points and you're right there and can't finish. That's one thing. You might be able to sell that. A difficult schedule, whatever, fine. But not being competitive, that's something completely different. Completely different. And if we're going to have an honest conversation, I firmly believe that if you gave this roster to a younger version of Barry Alvarez would have it to be a hell of a lot more competitive than what they've shown it to be right now. Now, does that mean I think Barry Alvarez is a better coach than Luke Fickell? Absolutely. That's exactly what it means. Yes, I do. So I don't think they're losing because the cupboard is just that bare. Maybe it is. But I know Alvarez's coaching staffs, Bielema's coaching staffs were able to coach guys up and have them in games that nobody thought they could be in and stun the world once in a while along the way. This cat here, Fickell, hasn't shown the ability to do any of that to this point. None of it. That's why, for me, best case is win 3 of the last 5. Because if you do that, then you prove we got better. Certain players got better. And the offense started to finally go under Grimes, who's going to get fired, by the way, if this doesn't get any better. He's going to be out first. It'll be Grimes to the corner first before Fickell gets it. If they get shut out this week against Oregon and they go 3 straight games without scoring a point,
he might be done then, yeah.
And it's a bye week, right? So you have 2 weeks of the new offensive coordinator to figure this out. Whether that's somebody on that staff that takes over, or you simply bring in somebody from the outside. Hey, Mike McCarthy.
They're going to be desperate. Give anybody the opportunity.
Hey, Mike McCarthy, why don't you come be offensive coordinator for the rest of the year? No pressure. Just come help us be offensive coordinator, right? And maybe McCarthy be like, no, I'm good. I'm not going to do that. But that he's going first before they get to Fickell or McIntosh. So my best case doesn't change. 3 of 5. A worst case scenario is simply what I just said, which is you're not competitive. You get blown out in every game the rest of the way out. You do then have to fire Fickell, and then you have to start over again. And it's a whole new coaching staff, all new recruiters, and you're literally starting from ground zero. Not to mention the fact this whole roster not the whole roster, probably 70 or 75% of the roster will all hop into the portal to get the hell out of Madison. And then you are really behind it, trying to bring in a new staff and try to get players from the portal to come play for you, trying to recruit. You're going to be playing a bunch of freshmen. Like, it is going to be a disaster if that happens. I don't want that. I don't want to go through that. If you think it's bad now, it's just begun. If it ends this way, nobody should be rooting for it to end that way, Charlie.
But sometimes it needs to end that way for big changes to be made. And I think you kind of have to see that a program like Wisconsin, who's never really been in this position before, at least in the past 25 years, this is something that I think you need to get with the times. And right now you're way behind the times. And some of these other schools, are going way ahead of that. Like North Carolina, we brought them up before. They may have went way too far ahead into the times, and now it's kind of screwing them over a little bit because Lombardi doesn't want to be there. Belichick is hanging out with his girlfriend more often than he is with the team. I think this is something that you don't want that to happen, but you also don't want to get complacent. In a Power 5 conference, in a conference that could eventually go on and make its own money, you want to show that you're worthwhile.
On the Nicolay Law Talk and text line 414-677-1250, the 920 says they need to play the freshman quarterback Carter Smith.
Why not? Why not? Go out there and let him play, man.
No, they're not going to. No, they'll redshirt him and keep him another year of eligibility. There's no sense to play him and get him killed behind this offense, what they're playing with right now. You're just going to, no. There is absolutely no chance for success if he goes out there and plays. There's none. So why am I going to ruin a freshman quarterback?
I think there's better chance of success for this team than Simmons being out there and playing quarterback.
920, a different 920. Best case is if they score 3 touchdowns the rest of the year. You were really getting a kick out of all this nonsense, aren't you?
It's pretty funny, yeah.
Another 920. We're popular in the 920 now. Another one says, lose the rest of their games, get rid of the coach and the AD.
Glad everybody's so positive today. How did you end up being the most positive person in this segment?
I don't think everybody understands how bad this is going to be if they really do what y'all want them to do. I don't think you understand. Because if you fire McIntosh and you bring somebody in, is the chancellor going to listen to Barry and let Barry hire the next AD? Because that's pretty much what happened with McIntosh. They all had a vote. Paul Christ voted for McIntosh, by the way, and then McIntosh fired him. So are we going to listen to Barry again, or is the chancellor going to make her own hire? And if she makes her own hire, are we staying in the family or are we going outside the family? And then when that AD comes in, what promises are you going to make to that person that you're going to increase NIL money? You're going to increase, how much money you're spending on the football team from revenue sharing. You're going to have to make a bunch of promises, more than likely, unless you find a Jason Ack who simply just wants to be back in Madison, former Badger, and wants to coach his alma mater. Maybe you get that cat to come back without promises. But if you plan on getting anything significant, you're going to have to make promises. And then if you're Luke Fickell, it's like, hey, man, why couldn't you do that for me when I was here, right? Then you're going to throw up your hands and go, where was all that money when I needed it? I don't see anything positive in getting blown out the rest of the year and getting everybody fired. I just don't think it's positive.
I think that
it's horrible.
When you go and interview the next AD, you go and interview the next head coach, it's not about promising them more money. Exactly. Yeah, I think you do have to give them more money, but you also have to confirm that that person is willing to take more creative routes to build their team and go out and recruit in different ways.
What do you mean? Creative? What do you mean? You want to go to Germany and call up Mike Wall and be like, hey, man, you got any good high school kids over there?
I want them to look at players that aren't maybe the top recruits all the time and lose out to these other big schools, which is what they consistently do right now. Instead, recruit in state. Look at the kids that are talented. Try to find kids that fit within a system that you're trying to build there.
You have to be able to coach kids.
I think that if you have somebody who has a good plan in recruiting, they should have a good relationship with the players, and it should be a good process to get them to coach these players up.
All right, take a quick time. I'll come back on the other side. Mike McCarthy joined Mason Crosby with Mitch Thunder Nellis, brought to you by Verizon earlier today, and we'll play a couple clips from that interview for you. If you missed it and want to hear it in its entirety, either hang around for Wisconsin Sports Wrap-Up with Tommy Wirtz, because he's probably going to play it back coming up at 5 to 6, or anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast at, just look for the Mason Crosby Show. Maybe listen to it that way, or by going on YouTube. You can watch it because he was on video with these guys on YouTube earlier today at WI Sports Radio on YouTube. Up for a game? Potawatomi Sportsbook is right there with you for all international games and matches. The Midwest's best sportsbook opens early. Place your bets, kick back, and enjoy the show on an absolutely enormous video wall. Then grab a cold one, along with food from a menu packed with flavor. Not up for watching the game, but still want in on the action? You can wager on any sport, anytime at their quick service kiosk. Bet above the rest at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Welcome back. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Steve Sparky, Fifer with you, broadcasting live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Hope you all are doing well here on a Football Friday. Thanks for tuning in all over the beautiful state of Wisconsin. WNFL 99.7 FM in Green Bay and Appleton. We got 93.9 The Game in Wausau. How about Duluth in Superior area? 710 The Game. And, of course, Milwaukee, 1250 AM and 105.7 FM. The Fan. How about this? Before we get to Mike McCarthy, I go back to the Nicolay Law Talking text line to my guy Dan in the 715. Dan, I'd hug you if you were here. I agree with you, Sparky. It's Chris McIntosh's mess. Make him dig the football team out of the hole they're in. Thank you, Dan. Not everybody wants everybody fired on this damn team. I'm sorry. To fire both of them, you are creating a bigger mess than you already have on your hands and really are going to ruin this thing.
Yeah, but you're also making a more bare sandbox to build with at the same time too.
Oh, it'll be a bare sandbox. You're right about that. It'll be a bunch of wood and nothing. No sand in sight. There's a drought. There is no chance.
Mark Atanasio knows where to get sand. He can help.
Good one on Atanasio. That's funny. You got one-liners over there. You want more of that wit and wisdom tomorrow, Wisconsin Sports Weekend. With as Tommy Wirtz calls him, Big Chuck, Charlie Usen on tomorrow morning 9 to 11 with the aforementioned Tommy Wirtz. Jack Pembroke is busy with other things, so those two guys manning the airwaves tomorrow 9 to 11. Don't forget Sunday night starting at 10:30. We will have the Green Bay football postgame show. That taking your calls, your tweets, chatting with you on YouTube as well, and we'll hear from Ryan Wood from the Green Bay Press Gazette, who picked the Rodgers and Steelers to win the game this weekend. So we'll talk with him after the game. Hopefully we can tell him I told you so after the game. But we'll hear from LaFleur and Wood and other players too at Sunday night starting at 10:30. As I mentioned before, Mike McCarthy was on earlier today on the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Thunder Nellis, brought to you by Verizon. And we have a couple of clips to play from that in case you missed it. And again, you go back, listen to it wherever you download your favorite podcast at. Search for the Mason Crosby Show. Go back, watch it on YouTube at WI Sports Radio as well. Mike McCarthy talking about what it's like for Aaron Rodgers to kind of go up against the Packers for the first time. Because remember, he was with the Cowboys, had to play against the Packers.
Well, it's definitely real. And I think we're all programmed to say the right things when you get in front of a camera or get in front of a microphone. But I did see, I guess he made a comment. It'd probably be a lot different for him if it was in Lambeau. And I definitely agree with that from experience. So, the emotional part of it is tremendous. I know going back to Green Bay in 2022, that was difficult to walk out on the field because that's when it really hits you. You think you're fine, and because you have so much that you need to do leading up to the game, and you get into that game day mode. But personally, when I went back, when I went to the Cowboys, I would always go to the home games really early, and but I start doing it on the away games too. So it's just, I think after being out of the football, I just love Sundays so much. My point is being, so I was at Lambeau, I would go with the trainers and the equipment guys. So you're there 4.5 hours before the game. And it was really cool because as you go throughout the NFL, particularly on the road, you get to know the grounds crew. You get to know all, their stadium people. So, because you're there so long, but so going in early at Lambeau was awesome because, seeing Scotty Peters and, Justin Crabb and all those security guys that, that we got to know over the years there. So getting to see so much of the, just the local people was really good. And I really wasn't planning on that. And frankly, Aaron and I had a chance to visit in a private location before the game. And that was important to me. And I think both of us, and I'm glad we did that because, and frankly, it was like old times. I mean, it's, we actually had a lot longer than I thought we would have, but but then he went out and played. He played his ass off. So I don't know if that was the right thing for me.
You made him feel comfortable.
Yeah,
it was like, all right, just like the good old days.
Too comfortable. Yeah, no doubt. So, but so that was good. So I think you need to embrace it. I think run it is the point I'm trying to make is, you're that place is, well, you always be a part of that. And, and Green Bay will always be a big part of Aaron's life. And, and I think the pregame, or particularly, as the pregame, the early time to go out, I think it'll be a special time for him because he'll get to see the people, particularly the support staff. And this better than anybody, Mason. The guys in Green Bay are incredible. I mean, it's you got people who've been there forever. And so I think he'll enjoy that. But, but once the ball snapped, he'll have a little bit extra and because it'll be important to him to win the game. No different for the Packers to go in there and get this win. So, but I think it's going to be a great game. I'm looking forward to the environment. But, yeah, I hope he embraces it because it's real. You can't hide from it. I did the same thing. And I know really actually Dak Prescott and I talked about the game in Green Bay after the fact, like after the season. And I was always, and I think my mode, Mason, I never wanted to be a distraction. And I always try to keep it always about the players. And Dak had told me, he goes, frankly, I wish you would have got up there and just, said, hey, F the Packers, and, show us how important this was to you to win that game. And that was interesting that he expressed that to me after the fact. So next time, if I was Matt LaFleur, I'd tell him to go flip Aaron off and tell him to go,
get out. Nice. I love it.
Enjoy it, man. No, I'm just kidding, obviously. But I do think it's important. And you do want to make sure you're emotionally right for your teammates and everybody involved. But there's going to be a lot of emotions run through his veins. I think it's only natural.
I'll be honest with you. I agree with Dak Prescott. That is what Mike McCarthy should have done. Absolutely what he should have done. It should have been rally around the coach and go beat that team. That's what Dan Campbell does in Detroit. Dan Campbell's a rah-rah guy. That's what Dan Campbell thrives on. Taking bulletin board material. You going to let them talk about us like this? What are y'all going to do? And they're like foaming at the mouth, wanting to come out and kill somebody. That's how they do it there. And he's such a nice guy. And those of you that don't know him, whatever, that's fine. But he's a nice dude, McCarthy. And instead of doing that, he just acted like it was another week to his teammates. When in reality, he probably could have got him fired up at least enough to where it hadn't been nearly as ugly as that playoff game was, that they got destroyed in Dallas.
Also, when your coach is the one giving you the rah-rah speech about him being scorned by the former team, it just doesn't feel the same as a former player or a player coming out here and saying that same thing. I think you do want to go out there and play for your coach, but you have to be really bought into your coach for you to want to go out there and play.
That's the one thing with McCarthy teams. I feel like most McCarthy teams are all bought into Mike McCarthy. Like, he is a player's coach, right? He's that guy, and they always, hey, he's from Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, tough, whatever. But he really is that guy. Like, McCarthy, let me put it this way. If I told you, Charlie Usen, we could go to whatever bar you want to go to in Green Bay or Door County or whatever in that area, right? You can pick your place to go have a beverage, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a corner bar.
Yeah.
It's not one of those, the fancy bars. Corner bar, neighborhood bar, you and the bartender and a couple other people, right? So you're not going to be bugged by a million people.
Right.
Which coach do you want to go sit down and have beverages with and eat some popcorn with or whatever? McCarthy or Matt LaFleur?
Mike McCarthy. I didn't even have to think about that one. Matt LaFleur is definitely more of like a wine guy, but not like a cool wine guy like Doc Rivers. Like, I'd want to have a glass of wine with Doc Rivers.
I'm not having wine with anybody. So you can have your wine. I'll have my Jack and Coke.
Some wine's good.
We'll move on. No. But, well, I mean, if you put Doc Rivers in this conversation, I agree with you. I'd rather hang out with McCarthy than Doc than LaFleur. Nothing against LaFleur. It's not like I view him like I view PJ Fleck or Brett Bielema or anything like that. I just don't know personality-wise if I would be able to get down with this dude if we were having a conversation. McCarthy, I've had conversations with him. I know we're good. And Doc, I'm pretty sure I would be good because we're both old. So I'm pretty sure I can relate quickly. But my other thing about this is I think the younger players do buy into Matt. I don't think it's any different with LaFleur. I think this team completely buys in. And if there's any question in your mind listening that that's not the case, 2 years ago, when they're going through all those struggles in the first half of the year, and that offense is atrocious, receivers are running routes next to each other, nobody knows where they're going, and it's just falling apart. Do you have any idea of how easily that could have just absolutely imploded? LaFleur could have been out of a job. They could have won 1 or 2 games. The offense never would have gotten any better, and it didn't happened, those guys were bought into LaFleur, and they kept pushing, and they kept pushing, and they kept pushing, and then they got red hot, and away they went. If anybody questions how good of a coach Matt LaFleur is, for me, the rest of my life, that was one of the best coaching jobs I've ever seen. By far. Not just because of how they finished and they went to Dallas to win, but from the simple fact that you kept that thing together without it splintering apart and really killing the entire season. That was the most impressive piece of head coaching I've seen in quite some time as far as around these parts.
I mean, you never know if it would splinter apart because it didn't. He was there, and that's what you got to look at, and that he was the guy, and that's why they believe in him now, even though this team hasn't really taken that full-on next step yet. I think this is why they go out there and they trust him night in, night out. A lot of these players do as well. Like you said, it's really important that the team is bought in on him, and like you said, in the right moments, he's done a good job of getting them to buy in.
Mike McCarthy, earlier today on the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Thunder Nellis, brought to you by Verizon, talked about what he remembers from Aaron Rodgers' development and then comparing that to Jordan Love.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, it's been really cool to watch Jordan, especially, being here in Green Bay and seeing the games every week. And actually, as I said, I had a chance to go to the first 2 home games, so good to see him play live. But you remember, 08 was a tough year for all of us. Just the way, that training camp went. And then I think we had, 10 games that came down to a 2-minute drill, and we were 2-8 or something.
Yep.
Been crazy, which was something that I think helped us, learn from that. And I think Aaron went on to be, I think he'll go down as one of the greatest 2-minute quarterbacks. I think that experience really helped us because we actually spent a lot more time on it after that. But, so he had the 08, his initial season was tough. He had a shoulder injury. He played through, which was pretty remarkable, coming out of that Tampa Bay game and lining up against Atlanta. And so, so he had those training. And I thought really 09 is when he arrived. I mean, I thought our 09 second half of the season, we were, probably one of the best teams in football. If not, I thought that run, after losing to Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh on the last play to Ben Roethlisberger.
Right in the corner. Yeah.
Oh, man, it was a killer. But overtime game, I think, too. So, I mean, but we went on that run at the end of 09, and I thought he played at an MVP level. So I really felt that he, had that here we go, moment that, he, because, the 08 was his first year as a starter. And then 10 was a hard year. The injuries were, our injury challenge was monumental there in the early years, especially that, the Washington game. I still remember the yellow card that they used, I'd write down the names of the guys that were injured. And it was the first time I had to flip it over and had names on the back. So, I mean, there were so many guys that went down in that game. So that was a really hard year for us, but definitely for him too. I mean, and we had some big moments in the game at Atlanta, in the regular season near the end where he just played out of his mind, and that just the one throw he had to Jordy to his left in the corner end zone, still one of the many great throws that he's made in his time, and I think that obviously gave us tremendous confidence going back down there in the divisional round, in the playoff. So. But then, then once we hit our stride into the playoffs, and he played at such a high level, Super won the MVP, and then obviously 11 was his first MVP year. So, when you see that ride that he had, his first 3 years were not smooth sailing. I mean, he has some really tough up and down moments, as we did as a team, and so I do think Jordan has seen some of those similar peaks and valleys, which is so healthy for him, and I think he'll be better for it moving forward. So I do hope he takes that next big step here. Year 3 would be awesome, to see them make a run like that with him at the helm. But yeah, the numbers are scary. But when you look at the trend lines of some of the things they have to go through, the ups and downs, there are a tremendous amount of similarities.
There you go. Mike McCarthy on earlier today. Hear all of that interview coming up from 5 to 6. Wisconsin Sports Wrap-Up with Tommy Wirtz. If you can't wait that long, you got to get to it before now and then. Well, shame on you, because that means you're going to stop listening to us. But if you must, wherever you download your favorite podcast at, or go look on YouTube at WI Sports Radio. Coming up, Charlie's Sounds of the Day. And can't wait to see what he's picked out here on a Friday. God help me. Hey, you can win big this October at the Potawatomi At Potawatomi, play the Bird Bash Game Show for $50,000 in cash. Just play with your Potawatomi rewards card for entries. Prize drawings on Thursdays. Plus, your play also earns you a shot at the $300,000 December season finale. It's a Bird Bash, only at the Potawatomi Casino Hotel, Milwaukee. For more details, visit paysbig.com/Bird Bash. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here, Charlie using Chicago Charlie, other side of the glass, getting ready for trick-or-treating going on this weekend. I know so many of you are that have kids and so forth, and myself and our kids will be out trick-or-treating too. It's always fun. Yeah, a guy that works in our building, Brett Andrews, is like, Sparky, so how much candy do you take from your kids? Like, of all the candy you get, like, how much do you take? I was like, I don't know, 2 or 3 pieces maybe total, like the entire time and sitting on the kitchen table or whatever. Oh, no, there's got to be like a child, what did he call it? A Halloween treat tax or something like that. Like, you take a piece for every 2 they get or something crazy like that. I was like, yeah, no, man, like, I don't eat a ton of candy at home. Like, my weakness is
those jelly beans.
These jelly bellies that are sour. These sour jelly bellies right here. That's what you'll see me eating during the show from time to time. Those I'm addicted to. But outside of that, I'm not a huge candy guy at the end of the day.
Whenever I have kids one day, I will be implementing the candy tax. Yes.
So you're a big candy guy too.
Oh, I love candy. Have you seen me over here? I got like at least once a week a different kind of candy. I like
that you're just snacking on throughout or whatever. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. The other thing is that, like, I love my Frosties, my Frosty Fusions, my Frosty Swirls. So that I'm into, yes. But like buying like a container of ice cream, the rest of my family, addicted. Me, I'm good. I'm fine. I don't ever like need to have a bowl of ice cream. The rest of them love ice cream.
I think we got like 4 different, like at least pints of ice cream in our freezer right now.
Yeah, but like Frosties, I'm good on. Shakes, malts, I'm good on all that stuff. But otherwise, no, not so much. Unless it's like the banana ice cream pie. And I don't remember who makes it. But anyways, I think it's called banana cream pie ice cream is what it's called. That if one of those stores that have ice cream have that flavor, okay, then I'm in. That I love. But outside of that, no, not nearly as in as others.
What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, time for Charlie Sounds of the Day, brought to you by Prize Picks. Use that promo code Sparky today, SPARKY. Put in 5, get $50 in lineups. So quick math, that's $55. If you play 5 lineup, that gets you 11 lineups for $5. Man, even if you don't play daily fantasy, it's worth trying, man. You probably got just as good odds or better odds than you do of winning the lottery by picking a couple players to go more or less in daily fantasy. So again, use that promo code Sparky when you download your Prize Picks app, SPARKY. What do we got, Charlie?
All right, so I for sure want to play the one that was going to make you mad, so I'm going to play that one first.
This is becoming a theme on this show.
You've probably heard this one already. I know a lot of people in the Packers community have heard this one. This is Adam Sheen on Sirius.
Shine.
I was going back and forth in my head between those.
Adam Shine.
Yeah. I was discussing Packers versus Steelers and the belief that he has in Jordan Love versus Aaron Rodgers.
All the pressure is on Jordan Love. All the pressure is on Matt LaFleur. All the pressure is on the Packers because they're the better team. They should win this game. It's Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is a 3-point dog at home. And I get it because the Steelers' defense has been atrocious. Jordan Love in his 20s should be able to beat Aaron Rodgers in his 40s. See him do it. There's a lot here. And yes, I firmly believe that Aaron Rodgers will find a way to make this thing matter and remind everybody that they should have never drafted Jordan Love in the first place.
So let's remember a couple of things here. One, this idiot was also just saying Jordan Love is going to be the worst quarterback in the NFL and what a horrible decision and he sucks and you'll see, blah, blah, blah. And then he went and hid in a hole by the end of that first season as a starting quarterback and has been anti-love no matter how well he plays. That dude has been against him. Now, somebody on Twitter said he's a Bears fan too. I don't know if he's a Bears fan or not. I don't know. I don't follow the dude on Twitter. I don't listen to his radio show. None of it. I've never liked that guy personally. But the Jordan Love hate, he's been consistent for 3 years on that. So I'm not all that surprised by it. Is there more pressure on Love? I don't know. We've not had that discussion, and we need more time than like 3 minutes that we have right now. So maybe later in the show we can get into that. Go ahead.
All right, next up here, we're going to head over to Thursday Night Football, where Kirk Herbstreit and Al Michaels were discussing Carson Wentz's frustration on the sidelines last night and their opinions on that.
You know, I understand. It's been obviously a rough night, and he hadn't had a lot of help. But to me, when you're the captain of the ship, you're the quarterback, you got to try to hold some of that emotion in. And I know he's frustrated, and he's hurt. But it's week 7. You know, there's a long way to go, and I think that's some of that's just raw emotion.
Yeah, he's been in the mixed matches tonight all night long.
You know, if Justin Jefferson does that, it's probably on SportsCenter, it's everywhere on social media. What's wrong with this guy? Quarterback does that. To me, it's worse because, like I said, you're the guy, you're the leader, you're the alpha. It's a frustrated team right now. They'll get an opportunity to try to correct a lot of wrongs. After a mini bye, they'll get ready to go to Detroit. 1 win away, 60 minutes away from everybody feeling different. But right now, after the Philly game last week and the way they played tonight, it's a lot of somber looks down there for the Vikings.
He's trying to not die. Do you understand me? He's trying to not die in the football game. That's literally what was going on. Any other human being with a half a brain would never have went back out there after he was hurt. And he's out there trying to gut it out and get through it. And you want to get mad at him, Herbstreit, for this? I love Kirk Herbstreit. I do. Talks too much about his dog. But outside of that, I'm all in on Herbstreit. That was completely crazy. Completely nuts. That man should have been on the sidelines. I've been playing. Somebody else go in there. I'm done. I'm not getting killed anymore. Totally should have been what that had been. No, sorry. I have no problem with Carson Wentz losing his mind. He had every right to lose his mind, Charlie.
Yeah, I don't blame him at all either. I mean, you see him on the sideline in this video with his arm just hanging out of his shoulder pads. Looks like it's about to fall off basically because it's in that big old brace, and he just looks just defeated. How can you blame him for that?
He's trying not to die.
They have no run game. They have no offensive line. Their defense is constantly putting them back out on the field. It's bad.
Yes, it's absolutely horrible. Coming up next, Rainy Gold Update. I want to address that pressure question that got brought up there. Also, I'll play some of Jeff Hafley spinning it around, trying to defend his secondary. That's coming up next in a Green and Gold Update. Plus, fantasy football, Joe Bartel from RotoWire Fantasy Sports at 4:20. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.